the show to discover music that's worth telling your friends about. Today, I am by my very special guest, Muchi. First and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man. How are you? How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, I know that a lot of changes have happened and transitioned into your just everyday life from your career as a personal being. But with that being said, being an independent artist, how has it been now for where you're at currently with your music and just you as a person itself altogether?
It's been great. It's been a long journey. I've been making music since like 2018. So it's just been a long journey from 2018 to just now. Just like constantly figuring out what I'm doing wrong, constantly thinking of how can I improve everything. You just how can I get to a new point of having a new plateau and a new stagnant point, pretty much. So it's just like it's a grind, but it's a beautiful grind, and I really enjoy it. It's a very beautiful process.
With that being said, and how you've seen the grind and how you've seen the change, what advice would you give to somebody that's taking their music career from going side hustle to now full time and to now going all in? Like, what advice would you really give to those that are trying to learn and better and perfect themselves?
The best thing, honestly, is just being really consistent. I know everybody says that, but like consistency is a really, really big thing. This is like 2024 and even 2025 as of now have been like my most consistent years, and they've been my most successful years because I've really honed in and I really just put my all that I could into it. It just kept being consistent, whether I was being consistently bad, consistently good, or consistently just trying. The fact that I was being consistent with it was what really made me like able to get to a new point and a new place of like actual success, at least for me. I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of people, although we hear it all the time, it's the one thing we all struggle with. And I think if you could beat that struggle, then you can really do anything.
And then speaking on the consistency, because for you, you were working part time and you just announced that you quit your part time job at working at Kroger and now you're transitioning full time, going all in. Like, this is what it's all about. I'm not going to fail. Like, this is what it's going to be. What exactly was it that made you switch that? Was it like, okay, I have got enough money saved up to go into doing this? Or is it just like, if I really just put my all in, this is the time to do it? What exactly was the switching point for you to be like, okay, it's time to say goodbye. It's time to go lock in and just go all about it?
One of the biggest things was like, I could kind of feel my mental health like deteriorating as I was there. It's just the process of being there every day and just being in that place and having so many things happen. Like I've had so many moments at that Kroger that I wish I never would have had. It's just the mental it was really draining. And I was like, whether I want to like keep working here or keep doing other stuff, I need to be focusing on my health because at the end of the day, I can't make it if I'm dead. So that was one of the biggest things. And then also the feeling of this really is the best year for me to do it. I feel like I've worked so hard to a point where like I'm at a point to where it makes sense that I like really hone in and give him my full time. And it's like the money is there. Like I was making more money at Kroger, of course, but that was also just there to like be able to support my own career. And if it wasn't something I fully need, if I could still support myself and also still give my all to my career, then I'm gonna make sure I can give my career all my time.
And then speaking on your next step that you got going on, pretty much that's happening. Your next EP, The Best Sign, comes out February 3rd. Congratulations, by the way, for everything you got single wise. It's amazing. Now, what exactly is the meaning behind the title and why you chose it to be that?
So the best sign too is a trilogy to the first one, the best sign. And pretty much that whole era of me is just me really like honing in on like the actual skills I have and also kind of just proving a point. I feel like a lot of my career, I feel like there's been not really a stigma, but there's like a little piece of me that I feel like people didn't really see it. And I feel like a lot of people get the word the best or like GOAT confused because they think it's just like you're really good at something. When in reality, it's stuff. Like to be really good and like the best artist, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be good. You have to be able to do everything. You have to be able to be self-sufficient. So I feel like
Round just career to have.
yeah, jack of all trades. And I feel like if you're not that, you shouldn't even be in that kind of like space or realm. And I feel like as cocky as it sounds, like I feel like I've gotten to a point where I've worked hard enough and I put enough effort into where I'm like, I'm really at that point. And it's more than just like me simply saying like I'm the best at what I do and all that stuff. It's more of me saying like, I believe I'm the best at what I do. And I know that everything I've done has gotten me to this point of like being able to fully show that I'm actually good at what I do. And I actually put in the passion and I actually have the work. Like, even if I was the worst artist ever, I would still have the best side mentality because I consistently am putting in the work. I'm trying every day. I'm passionate about it. There's nothing that I love more than this. So it's like I have all the components to have that type. And these two projects, these two EPs, that trilogy or sequel, is really just me putting that into the air and showing that like it makes sense that I'm calling myself this, you know? I'm the one who worked hard to get to this point, and now you're going to see it as well.
And then what exactly inspired you to be always gunning for being the best or just going to be the best? Just the overall ethic and inspiration that made you feel that this is why I'm going to be better at these specific things. What about music itself? Or maybe it wasn't even music, but just anything from any of your other factors in your life made you feel that I'm going to be the best because of this specific reason or reasons being.
I think no matter what, I always feel like there's something I got to prove. Like whether it be to myself or whether it be to anybody else, there's always something I got to prove. And I feel like being at that point of really just honing in and being that good at your passion, it really shows that like you get to that level. It's also really to just prove myself right, like, or prove myself wrong actually, because there was a lot of times where I felt like I couldn't do a lot of the things that I'm doing now. Like I'm pretty sure if you would have asked me a year or two ago, like anything about being consistent, I couldn't tell you I've done anything consistent because I was at a point where like I was doing stuff like 2023, I dropped 7 songs the entire year, and there's 12 weeks. So that's crazy. 365 days, and I only showed myself 7 times, really. And it was like, I just knew that there was a point that I, like, if I wanted to get to where I really wanted to be, it was a lot more I had to do. And just me wanting to always prove myself wrong, and that point of like, I can do everything I want to do, and I can be as good as I want to be, and I can be as talented as I want to be as long as I put in the work, as long as I keep really honing in and just putting in as much work as I can. I think that was really the biggest thing.
Did you see that transition happen over time? Did you feel like it was a very delayed, just get the ball rolling and finally become something from a snowball to an avalanche? Or would you say like instant as you saw and reflected on it, it just snapped and you just really went all in and just gave everything that you could and just put forth about making something better for yourself when it came down to the next steps in your career?
It was definitely like a snowball for sure. Like this is really like a 3-year process making, because from like 2022 all the way up to now, I've had those moments of like being like, yo, you're not doing enough or this or that and the third. And it's just me like acknowledging it, but it was never me actually fully getting to that point. Even though me acknowledging it was a step towards actually getting to the point of where I wanted to be now, it was still like I wasn't doing enough. And I was like, each and every day I was 1% jumping over one hurdle, whether it had been a really big hurdle or a really small hurdle. There was days where I only got like 0.5% of improvement. And then there was days I got like 20%. But the biggest thing was like each day I was trying to make sure I was improving something by 1%, whether it had been like me acknowledging that there's a problem and I need to fix it, or whether it's me actually doing something that kind of get me towards that point of being where I wanted to be at. The biggest thing was really just allowing it to snowball. I think a lot of times we don't allow the snow to actually mold into it. We try to force it to be something, and then it can't.
You try to build it as soon as you get like 3 drops of a snowflake and you're like,
Exactly.
this isn't going to be anything.
Literally, like it just started snowing, bro. You can't make a snowman out of 2 minutes of snow. And I think I allowed myself to let it snow for a little. And once it snowed, I was just slowly pushing to make this huge snowball, which then turned into the bottom of a snowman, and then so forth.
And then speaking on seeing how your project just gradually grew and just became more and more of something about you wanted to be, and from going from just nothing into something, as cliche as it sounds, what exactly are you most proud of it now when people are going to take it back and listen to it? But what are you most proud of when it comes down to like how you've seen it grow and how you've seen it just perfect your craft and get better as it goes?
I think the coolest thing to see is like all the small little improvements that I made to try to be better, just even at writing or just at making music, and seeing them like be acknowledged, like super, super small details, like just being acknowledged. It's super cool to see, just for the fact of like the stuff that you don't think gets noticed, like always gets noticed, and seeing it actually be noticed and people be like, yo, like super proud of you for doing this or super proud of you for doing that. And just taking those small steps to even add one little detail to something just so it can be at a point of where it is. It's super cool. And also just like the best side really is just my life. Like it's really my story. And the fact that I got to see my story be told and nobody else was writing it but me. And on top of that, like it be appreciated it made me really proud. And it made me just realize like you are a lot more value than you think you are. And it's super cool to see.
And then aside from the music side of what you've got going on, you also have your brand Eye on Peace, correct?
Yes, sir.
What exactly is it those for that are unaware of the brand itself? Because I know you try to dip your hand into a lot of different things from art, whether it be fashion, music, producing, writing, everything that you've got from this, that, and the third. What exactly is this piece that people are now starting to see more from you as well in terms of just a venture?
So Ion Piece is like a small clothing brand that I started kind of detaching it from the actual kind of quote unquote Muchi persona. Ion Piece is pretty much a way of like, it's literally self-explanatory. Like Ion is just literally I and on smashed together. And it's meant to just be like honing in on creatives and like giving creatives the space and like giving people the room to actually acknowledge how important creatives and like artists and just anyone who does anything artistically and just creatively, how important we are just to the world in general. Like it's really a way to let people really focus on the piece of art, which is why it's called Eye on Piece. It's really just getting people's eyes to focus on the art. One of my favorite things to say for Eye on Piece is like, it's not just a piece of clothing, it's a piece of living. And I feel like that's really what Eye on Piece is to me. It's a way of showing people how important creatives are to the world and just how without people being creative and innovative, there is no world. Everything on earth is an idea. And without us being creative and coming up with these ideas, we'd have nothing.
Does your creativity get influenced from anything specific of what comes from just where it stems from? Like, is there anything specifically about what helps you become more creative or just what influences you in terms of creativity?
I think it's a lot of people that I just like, not even look up to, but a lot of people that I admire with just like their worth ethic and creativity. Like Tyler's a big inspiration to me, just overall career wise, human wise, and just overall like creatively. Like he's a very, very creative, phenomenal human being, and also just some of my
Ended with his name, of course.
no, literally, he's literally a creator. It makes sense, but people like that, like Tizo Touchdown, just being able to be unapologetically yourself and just really put everything that you have forward onto whether it be a canvas, a song, or just like anything. Being able to see people like that, even smaller artists, like people like Justice Xavier, even my creative director, art, like just seeing people really hone in on what they love and being what they want to be. And also just seeing things in life that is just inspirational. It just pushes me to be, the person I am.
Now, answer this for me because I know there's some people that are going to watch this and be like, I totally get what he's saying. And there's going to be some people that are like, I have no idea how he does it. When it came down to just you yourself growing up and just even just how you are now, have you ever struggled being creative? Because for some people, it's just the light bulb goes off. They already know what they do when they see the canvas. They know where they're going direction wise. For some people, it's, I don't even know what to go with or what to go for. Should I draw inside the lines? Should I draw outside the lines? But when it came down to just you being a creative, have you ever struggled or had any issue when it comes down to just putting your mind to the craft of whatever it be pen, paper, canvas, anything itself?
Absolutely. I've definitely struggled with being creative. There's a lot of moments where like I'll have burnout or I just won't feel like actually making something. And it doesn't feel like it's right for me. I think the biggest thing with that is just realizing like you have to allow yourself the room to either be bad or not be creatively in it at that moment, which is okay. I think a lot of people try to force it so much to where it's like you can't really get off the things that you want to get off because you're so focused on trying to force yourself to do something that isn't genuine and natural. It's like how Lauryn Hill was never in the studio when she didn't have anything to talk about or when she didn't feel like there was moments of something she actually deemed important to speak on. She allowed herself to live her life and to go experience things to come back and tell her story. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think we need to allow ourselves room to not only just live life and just explore, but also allow ourselves to be bad in things and just also be average and allow yourself to grow however it comes.
Yeah. Don't just see it as like, okay, if I'm not where this person's at, then I'm not doing it right. Or if I'm not where this person's at this point in their, like, even just age. I see age as one of the biggest thing that people try to use that comparison because
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point. Like, I think that you need that in order to just be any kind of creative in general. Just how you need problems in life and you need bad things in life to be able to grow and to consistently be what you want to be. Like, if I never struggled creatively, there would be a lot of things that I probably never would have came up with because I never would have had the time to actually go be like, okay, I don't feel anything, and that's okay. And I need to just allow myself to not feel anything and then go do something else, or just even give myself a breather and just like focus on something else. Because most of the time when you don't feel creative or you don't feel in the zone of something, there's always something that's like naturally sitting there that's really messing with you. And I feel like a lot of the times we don't acknowledge those things, and we just kind of bottle them up and kind of guilt ourselves into not feeling as creative as we want to feel.
Do you feel that you've mastered it a little bit better, having that balance and just understanding exactly and recognizing I'm burnt out, I need time, I need space, I just need this to feed myself so I can continue being creative? Or do you still feel that there's at times that struggle where you're like unaware about how to navigate and how to just go forth when it comes down to just an idea?
Absolutely not. I definitely have not mastered it. I wish I could say I have, but I think it's one of those things that like, I think no matter what, you'll never master it. I think that's one of those things where you'll have to continuously feel it, and you'll have to continuously acknowledge it and be like, okay, I do not feel good with this right now. I don't know what it is, but I need to figure out what it is, and I need to figure out whether I need to ignore it, quote unquote, and just push through it to get to the point that I want to be at, or whether I need to allow myself to back up. Because that's also another thing. I think it's definitely like a balance that you have to figure out, because there's sometimes where it's not that you don't feel creative, it's just you don't know what to do. And so you're like giving up midway, when in reality, you need to just push through it and ignore kind of the certain things that are making you feel like you're not at that point before you want to be at, if that makes sense.
No, no, absolutely. I get what you're saying. I think it's just really just a matter of like, it's, of course, it's a case to case based on each person. Like some people are going to look at a picture and take away so much from it, and they're going to like just be like, oh, I'm creative again now. Like that just woke something up. It's like an epiphany. And then there's some people that are like, it's going to take a little bit of days. Like I might have to walk across America back and to and from like Forrest Gump. And now,
Exactly.
right, now I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then before we wrap up on out of here, speaking of just everything that you've got going on next, because there's been a lot of transitions like you spoke about earlier, like you're full-time in on your music. You've got the EP dropping to like finalize your trilogy. What exactly do you have planned out for next? Are you keeping it completely blank and just unaware about what exactly it is, like an ignorance is bliss approach? Or are you already having everything planned? Like, I'm going to plan this, I'm going to plan that, I've got this going on. But if there's nothing you can speak on, by all means, just
It's definitely, I definitely want to get to a point of where I know always exactly what's coming next. I am a little bit at that point. Like I know for sure kind of the timeline of how I want my music to go. I don't want to say exactly what I'm gonna do, but
it's fair.
lined up. It's definitely music lined up. Like I'm kind of knowing what I want to do at least month for month, kind of at least musically. Like I know if I want to drop a project this month, or if I want to drop a single this month, or whether I want to go ghost and act like I didn't do anything. But I have it planned out a little bit in that sense. I think it's also like a mix of just kind of going where my heart goes. Like the Best Sign 2 wasn't even planned to happen, but after making the Best Sign, I was still in that space, in that headspace. So I was like, I'm not gonna just ignore this and not act like it's here.
Yeah.
This was one of those moments where I was like, I just have to get the rest of this out, and then I have to let it be. And the Best Sign 2 is really just letting me get the rest of whatever I was feeling out, and then close that sequel. And now I've moved on to a new point in life. And I'm definitely planning it out, but I'm also allowing my emotions and feelings to be emotions and feelings and not let them just be strictly work.
No, as you should. And it's glad to see that this chapter is coming to a close, and we're going to only get something better for the next chapter that you've got going on. So high praise to you when it comes down to it, because I think whatever you've got going on, everyone's going to be tuned in from that's already listening to you. And it's also going to gravitate and bring in new listeners, because your music just has not just the lyrical themes itself that stand out, but it does have that you can only find it when he says it kind of aspect to it. It's very unique in terms of like what you're giving to listeners. It's not just okay, anybody sounds like this, but you have that, this sounds like Muchi, not like this sounds like this, that, and the third kind of sounds to yourself. So high praise to you when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Heavy. That means a lot, especially with like early in my career. I really struggled with comparisons and just things of like people not letting me be me and not letting me have inspirations and allowing me to be creative, whether it came from me watching Tyler do something or whether it came from me watching a dog fucking paint a picture or something. Like people didn't allow me the space to be me. And it was messy, so bad, because it was just like, am I not me?
You have to ask, who am I? As if like you never knew who you were to begin with.
Exactly. And it's like after having that moment of just like not letting that stuff affect me anymore, just realizing it's actually an honor to be able to be inspired by people. And it's a blessing to be able to find creative things throughout somebody else being creative. I think it really led me to a point of just like allowing myself to get to a point where I'm like, I am me and I do sound like me and I sound like whatever I want to do because it's what I want to do. So hearing it come from somebody else is really awesome. I really appreciate it.
No, of course, and likewise. But other than that, I just appreciate you for coming on, man. It was great having to talk with you just overall about the EP, yourself, and how you've got everything transitioning going on. It's glad for the advice you gave, just the overall everything you spoke about when it comes down to being creative, how you handle it, how it can best be handled. And just like you said, it's something that we will never master, but that's the beauty of it. It's the joy and just keep trying overall. Like, we're not here to be perfect. We're just here to be better. So just want to say thank you again for coming on, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you again. I appreciate you having me. Gratitude. This is beautiful.
Likewise. Of course it was. Thanks, man.
Of course.